Hi, this is Joe from PrepAgent. I'm here with my friend Lynn. Hi, Lynn.
Hi, Joe.
Okay, so we're ready to do our webinar, and we were just talking about a number of things before we got on this call that I mentioned to you that'd be really great to share with a lot of people listening. Could you refresh me on some of those things that you had concerns about, and maybe we could share with some people before we begin the questions?
Yes, there was a few things that I was really concerned about. One being having jitterbugs with taking my test. A lot of the information that I've retained, I felt like, that a lot of it I wasn't keeping it all in. And so when I first took my test, I didn't run across any of your literature before that. And when I finally ran across your literature after that, I asked my husband, would it be a good idea for me to go ahead and, take your class, and he told me, yeah. And when I got on there and I went and took my test the second time, and I don't mind anybody knowing that, but when I went to go take my test the second time, I saw a dramatic difference with just the information I've obtained on the webinars and through his lessons. Joe, you have the best stuff out there, and that's the honest to God truth.
Well, thank
I
you.
recommend this. Yeah, I recommend it to everybody because there's still a lot that I feel like I don't know, but I just want to be sure of, and I think I can get some of that surety from you.
Thank you. So also the thing I want to reemphasize is we were talking about confidence as people go into this exam. And one of the things I mentioned with you, and I do appreciate you saying those kind words. I appreciate that very much. It makes me feel good. But I want to talk about how this is between you and you. And what I meant about that is this isn't high school where your parents check your report card. This is you. And if you pass on the first try or pass on the 10th time, what do they call you after you pass?
An agent.
An agent, a real estate agent. It doesn't matter how many times it takes you to pass. And I want people to understand that they get very caught up if they pass first time or if they don't. And they're really only judging themselves. Nobody else is judging you. After you pass, no client you have are going to be aware of how many times it took you to pass unless you tell them. And you don't have to volunteer that information. So my point is everybody goes at their own pace. Everybody learns in different ways. But as long as you keep pushing and keep trying, you have your goal in mind of your new career, you're going to get there. A lot of people make these claims, pass the first time, pass the first time. And often I think to myself, why? You don't need to pass the first time. That'd be great if you did. We all want to. But if you don't, it's not like your goals to sell a house or make money or have a great career have to be totally nullified. So you just keep going, you keep pushing, you think of ways to get your career ready after you pass, because you will pass, and then you feel a little better about yourself and you're good to go. So that was the first thing I wanted to emphasize. I want everybody to get out of their head that there's this need to pass the first time or get a good score or everything of that nature. You just have to pass. It doesn't matter how many times it takes you. The second thing that we brought up is you said you spoke to a broker and there are certain things that apply to my state, certain things that don't apply to my state, and I get a little antsy about that. And there's certain things my broker knows and he doesn't. How come he doesn't know this stuff that I'm studying? That nature. You remember that conversation?
Yes.
So the first thing you brought up is I spoke to my future broker, this guy I want to work for after I pass. He doesn't know a lot of what I'm studying. And here's what I'll say about that. The truth is, there is a lot of stuff here you're going to study that you may not need to use after you pass. But there's also a lot of stuff you do need to know, such as how big an acre is. We also mentioned a contract is a contract. You got to know the essentials of a contract after you pass. Okay, when you start doing this, you have to know what a listing is. There are things you will have to know after you pass. And a lot of people who are practicing real estate forget that they studied that when they were preparing for their exam. Okay, and with that being said, it's not going to hurt you to know a lot of information. I mean, think of it as your barrier to get there. A lot of people get caught up with this idea that I don't need to know this, I just need to know it to pass the exam. I mean, that's not the best motivator in the world. Okay, so you just got to accept you got to learn it, you got to know it, and think of it as your barrier to entry to a great new career. And if you use this stuff after you pass, great. If you don't, so what? It's not going to hurt you. You're not going to be worse because you learned some extra information. Correct?
Yes.
And the last thing was you were talking about your state. And you were saying, my state's very unique. Okay, my state's very unique. And I said to you, you could say your state's unique. You could say your state's different laws. There's a whole lot that I go over, and I try and focus on the stuff that I make public on YouTube, on the stuff that applies to everybody. I have tried to avoid the stuff that's state specific on the public forum I used, which is YouTube. And when we talk about the stuff that applies to everybody, what were we talking about? Things like Sherman Antitrust Act, that's a federal law. And antitrust information, fair housing, that's a federal law. A contract is a contract wherever you go. The definition of agency is the same wherever you go. The laws relating to agency may change a little, but the definitions are constant. Real property is real property. Personal property is personal property. So let me say this. As a general rule, your vocabulary applies to every state. Federal laws apply to every state. Okay? What gets a little different is very often the time frames of when things can be applied, when things become illegal. And there are certain other things I try and mention in the course of teaching on the YouTube that's state specific. When you're talking about vocabulary and federal statutes, that applies to everybody. That's not going to be different wherever you go. So an example that you talk about, an FHA loan, is that state specific or is that federal?
That's federal.
Right. So that's what I mean. So when you say your state's unique, not so much.
Yeah, I guess it's just what the law side of it really that is what I was thinking about, versus state to state and what areas,
Right. And at the end of the day, like I want to help everybody and do my thing and help as much as I can. But at the end of the day, people got to learn their state specific information and, talk to instructors. And on my site, I do have state specific information. But when I do these webinars, as I said, I try and stick to the more general stuff. And I always tell people, I'm not a lawyer for you, and I'm not your broker specifically. I'm not even your instructor who helps you do your required courses that you do in your specific state. I try and help with general concepts so everybody can understand. At the end of the day, people got to refer to their state specific books or the instructor, brokers, or local lawyers.
Right.
I guess that's my disclaimer for the day, huh? So as I said, so we try and stick to the more general concepts that apply to everybody, which is a huge portion of your exam. And, with that being said, let's do some of that. What do you think?
Right. Good.
How about we go over some practice questions?
Ooh, okay.
All right. What's the answer to this first one? What do you think?
My brain's just went blank.
So under no circumstances may a broker, what can they never do?
Is that receive a commission from both buyer and seller?
Well, let's look at the answers. Appoint a subagent. Okay. Can a broker have somebody work under them?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sell the principal property to a relative. So if you list somebody's property, can their uncle buy it?
Yes.
Okay. Can they misrepresent facts?
Oh, no.
All right. So that one should be a glaring one for you. Okay.
Okay.
And receive a commission from both buyer and seller. Yeah, anything is agreed upon. I mean, there's typical listings where you get the commission from the seller, okay, out of that listing agreement, and then they split it accordingly. But there's no law preventing you getting from the buyer and seller. You remember, it's always whatever's agreed upon.
Right.
But even if you're not sure about this one, let's say you're not sure about misrepresent material facts and receiving a commission from the buyer and seller. Which one's more glaring to you? Like, which one's the more obvious? Whoa, you can't do that.
That's the misrepresentation of material facts. I guess that's basically saying fiduciary, right?
Yeah, on a very simple level, you're lying.
Right.
So it says a broker may receive a commission from both parties provided both buyer and seller have knowledge of the agreement, but a material representation is a violation of law. And that's what I was trying to tell you. You may have your standards in your local area, okay, of how commissions are divided and received. And that may get a little confusing, so it may make this question a little difficult. However, under no circumstances in any state is it okay to lie to people, to misrepresent material facts. Would you agree to that?
Yes.
Okay. So sometimes you got to pick the most obvious answer. Okay, I got 3 pictures here. One of them is not real property. I want you to tell me which one. Okay?
Okay.
So I got a house, a dentist chair, and a chandelier. Which one's personal property?
The dentist chair.
But isn't a dentist chair attached to the land?
It is until they move from one place to another. They can take it with them.
Why?
It's an expensive piece of equipment.
You're missing a key point.
It doesn't really belong to them unless they leave it, right?
Oh, you're missing a key point. Okay, so you're right, it's a dentist chair. So you're correct about that. Where you're off is your reasoning of why it's a dentist chair. Because a dentist chair is for a business.
Oh.
Okay?
Okay. Yeah.
Dentist chair is for somebody's business. And we discussed this, we're talking about fixtures. What's a fixture?
Is it personal property?
Well, what is a fixture? Just not personal or real, just what is it?
My mind's going blank.
Do you remember this name, Maria?
Oh, yes.
So what's
The
Maria?
acronym.
Yeah.
It's an acronym, and I think I remember what it's for. I think the M is for the method, adaptability, adaptability.
Relationship?
Yeah, relationship, intention, and agreement.
Correct. Yeah. Okay, that's what it stands for right there. Okay?
Okay.
That's what a fixture is all about. So a fixture is personal property that has become real property. It's typically something that's attached to the ground. Like here we have a chandelier, okay, or attached to the property. That'd be a fixture. What makes this different is that it's for somebody's business. Does that make sense?
Right.
And thereby, it becomes personal property. Personal property goes with the person. Real property goes with the real estate. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So a trade fixture is something used for a business office. So for example, a chef could have a stove that's attached. Because it's for his business, he takes it with him. Where if you had that same stove in somebody's house, that'd just be a normal fixture and it would run with the land.
Wow.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, so we're talking about the difference of a trade fixture and a fixture. Okay, and that's something I want you to write down. I really want you to study that after we get off the phone, because I think once you review that, it's one of those things you can learn really quick. Okay, and everybody out there who's listening, same thing. There's certain concepts that are really easy. When I tell people, especially people whose English is not their first language, okay, I want them to know their vocabulary. These concepts can be difficult. Questions can be worded in weird ways. There's no reason not to know your vocabulary.
Right.
So take time to learn that one. I really feel like if you study that one a little bit, you'll be like, boom, there's one more I could get right in my exam because that was really easy to learn. I learned it quickly.
Okay.
Yeah, so let's review it really quickly, you and I. What's the difference between a trade fixture versus a fixture?
Okay.
What do you
Fixture is okay.
Yeah, what's
Trade fixture?
Sorry, you go.
Trade fixture, you said was business.
Good.
And fixture, you said, was personal.
Nope.
Okay,
Fixture,
I lost it.
fixture is real property, okay? Because it goes with
Okay.
the real estate, right?
Oh, okay.
A trade
Right.
fixture is personal property
Okay.
because it goes with the business. Okay?
Okay.
So a
Yeah.
fixture is personal property becomes real property. So you have a chandelier, which is personal, as you get out of the store, you attach to the roof, now it's real. Okay? The dentist chair is personal because it's a chair. You attach to the ground, so now it's real property. But then you sell it and you want to take the dentist chair with you because it's for your business, now it's personal property again. As this
Okay.
gets
Got it.
confusing, I want you to remember this. And I said this a second ago, but I want to write down for you. Personal property goes with the person. Real property goes with the real estate. All right?
Okay.
Many people like to
I
say
might.
personal property is movable, real property is immovable. Have you heard that before?
Right.
But the reason I don't love that is for reasons exactly like this. Because that dentist chair is immovable, but yet it's personal property. Okay?
Okay.
Any questions about that? You don't sound totally confident with it.
I'm writing it down so I can go back over it after this conversation.
Well, remember, this is all recorded. I'm going to put it on YouTube so you can look at it again.
Okay.
So, yeah, we'll have it there. Okay. So, if you have any more questions, you want to go on to the next one?
Yes.
Okay. There we go. Dentist chair is not real property. Okay, true or false? Ready?
Right.
You could get a loan from the FHA as long as you put 3% down.
Uh, yeah, I feel like I know nothing about this at
Okay, so
all.
we'll learn.
I want to say false.
Why? Because so you're correct.
I don't. I don't think they do loans.
Perfect. I need you to have more confidence because you know more than you believe you do. I mean, you're doing great. You can get a loan for FHA as long as you're 3% down. You hit it nail on the head. FHA doesn't do loans. What does FHA do?
They I think they kind of bag up to like, I don't know if I'm getting confused on it. They kind of, I know they don't do the loans, but I'm getting confused on
Right.
how. I think they bag up certain insurance, right? Lender. Oh, okay. Insure the lender.
Insure the.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
That's what I mean. You know it. You just need to study a little more to nail stuff down to build your confidence. But you have it. You have the premise. And as you said, you were so close last time to passing that just a little more, just nailing that information, and you'll be fine. And you'll be on to your
Okay.
career. And we also talked about what a real estate agent should know and shouldn't know. This is one of those things. If you're a real estate agent and you're selling homes, you may not do loans. You may not work for the FHA. But this is pretty standard knowledge for somebody who's selling a home. So if I have a real estate agent and I say I want to get an FHA loan and they're like, I don't know what you're talking about, that's not a good sign.
Right.
I mean, they should at least be able to say, listen, I don't do the FHA loans. I'm not even a lender, but I know that you don't get FHA loans. FHA insures loan. Let me refer you to a mortgage broker or lender so they can give you more information about that. Does that make
Right.
sense? I mean, you should have a basic knowledge of it.
Right.
Okay. What's the answer to this one? So what is it called when one person is substituted for another in a contract?
A, novation, B, substitution, C, subordination, D, estoppel.
Yeah.
This one I got kind of confused on. I wanted to say it was A or B.
Okay.
And I think I know for a new contract, it's like novation means new.
So then what else do you need to know? So then
I want to say A.
Then say A. Say A. Say A.
A.
Good.
A.
Good. Like I said, so you said A. You need more confidence. More confidence. Promise me you'll have a little more confidence.
Yes, I will.
Okay, so what I need you to do is go with your first impulse and stop second guessing yourself. Have you ever done this? You wake up in the morning and you get ready to go out. And you have more time than you thought. You woke up a little extra early. Okay, has this ever happened to you? You're like, oh, I want to be efficient, and I actually have more time than I thought this morning. Like most mornings you're in a rush, but this morning I got a little more time.
Right.
And so what happens? You put on some clothes, and you're like, oh, this outfit looks great, and totally into it, looks good. But because you have more time, what do? You see another shirt, right?
Right.
And you second guess yourself, and you put on a different shirt because you have that time. And in that time, you're like, well, I like this outfit, but the red shirt looks pretty great too. I want that one. But you originally put on the blue shirt. What happens after you leave and you're in your car?
Then you notice that you didn't really want to wear that shirt that you have on. You should have went with your first instinct.
Right. You're like, I should have went with the blue shirt. The blue shirt looked great. That always happens. And I know I'm just saying that example, but there's psychologists who have tested that and shown that over and over and over again. And they use that test a lot when you study universities. People go, they say, I want this shirt. They first impulse, they pull it out, they're off, they're happy with it. When people take time and they're like, well, I kind of like this shirt, and they start second guessing themselves, they're almost always happier with their original decision because your first impulse is usually correct. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So here's what I'd like you to do on your exam. When you take your test, and I want you to record your first impulse. I'm assuming you're not confident enough where you want to write it down. You may say to yourself, I feel like it's an ovation, but I'm not sure. So I don't want to fill in the answer. That's fine. But I'd like you on the scrap piece of paper, or whatever they allocate for you, put A, novation, somewhere on the side. And that way, when you come back to it, if you're still not sure, you put your first impulse. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And I'd say write it down so when you come back to it, you may forget. What was my first impulse? I don't remember. This way, when you come back to it, you're like, I'm still not sure, but novation was my first impulse, so that's what I'm going with. And the reason I say don't put it in is because as you do your test, you may come across other information that says, no, I know exactly what that is. But if that doesn't happen, go with your first impulse.
Right.
So unless you see information that definitely contradicts your first impulse, you want to put your first impulse. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, novation. Novation is substitution for a new contract in place of an old one. Novation's Latin for new. Okay?
Right.
All right. Did you get a scrap piece of paper when you took your test?
Yes.
Okay. Do you mind if we go over some test-taking strategy for a second?
Right.
Is that okay?
Yes.
All right, let's go over a little test-taking strategy for you for a moment. So I want to go over what I just said. Because we go over all these concepts, I think this really might help you a lot. Sound good?
Yes.
Okay, so you get your scrap piece of paper. Okay, you see that line I made there?
Right.
Let's make it a little bigger. I want to make 3 columns. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, so I got Column 1's here in the middle, column 2, column 3 on my scrap piece of paper. Okay? So let's label that. 1, 2, and 3. Oops. So I got column 1, 2, and 3. See my board?
Yes.
When you go through your test, go through it first really quickly. And the first thing I want you to do is fill out the ones you're 100% confident of. That there's no way you're unsure. You know what it is. Bang those out immediately. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, in the second column, in this first column, you're going to put the ones where you have that first impulse. Okay? Where you're just like, I'm pretty confident, I'm not really sure though. So you do stuff like this. Okay, let me change the font here so you could tell that it's something different here. So I'll put number 1, I believe it's A. Okay? Put whatever, 24, I think is B. Okay? And so on. Hopefully there's not too many of these. Number 53, I think is C. And you get the idea, right?
Right.
Second column is ones that you're just, you know what, I kind of know, but I'm really not sure, but I have some guess, but I'm really kind of on the fence about. So that may be number 11, I'm feeling B. Number 15, I'm feeling C. And number, 71, feeling D. Okay?
Right.
All right. Now, obviously, this could be a longer list, but for the purpose of me teaching you now, I'm just doing a few here. The last column, I'll write 4, number 5, number 82, and so on. Now, why didn't I put a letter next to these ones? Because this third column is the one where it may as well be in Greek. You have no idea what it could be. It doesn't matter if you have a minute or you have an hour. It's not even the same language as far as you're concerned. Okay?
Right.
Do you ever see any of those?
Oh, yeah.
Right. So what I did with 1, 2, and 3 is you ranked the questions, essentially. So you already filled out the ones that you got, that you knew down cold. A, B, C, whatever it was. So now you have this on your paper. All the rest are organized accordingly. What my goal is for you to spend the most time and the most energy on the ones you have the most chance of getting correct. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So you went through it, you got all the ones right that you knew, whatever it was, and you're great. Now you go back through it. You're like, you know what? I just need a little help. I wasn't totally confident, but let me look at these ones again. You answer these ones, okay? And you go through them and you get them right. Okay, hopefully you get them right because you weren't sure, but you had a good inkling on them. You fill those out. Now you're in the second column. You're like, ooh, these are tough. And you start to feel a little more tired. Time's starting to run out. But you weren't really sure with them, and you want to try and do your best with them. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yes.
Now all of a sudden you're drained. Time's running out. You're losing focus. You're not feeling good, and you got this third column. Sounds like a tough situation, correct? You're drained, you're tired, and you have the hardest questions to do. Does that sound like a good strategy? I'll tell you why it's a good strategy. Because you weren't going to get these right anyway. So you might as well just take a 1 out of 4 shot, fill out the bubble, see how it goes. Because you don't have any energy left. So I say to you, you know what? You're going to spend 20 minutes on that one. You may not even get it right. I'd rather see you spend the majority of your time and energy on the ones you're more likely going to get correct. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, so I want you to rank them when you go through your test. Fill out the ones you know, rank the rest of them, column 1, 2, and 3. Okay? And if you run out of time or energy by the time you get to column 3, well, you weren't going to get it right anyway. My whole focus is for you to spend the most time and the most energy and the most focus on the ones you have the most chance of getting correct. Okay? Rather than you
Right.
spending a ton of time on one that you're probably not going to get correct anyway. And then after you spend all that time on one you're probably not going to get correct anyway, you lost time on doing one that you had a very good chance of getting correct. You lost time or energy on one that you probably would have gotten correct very easily if you just did it earlier. What do you
Right.
think?
Yeah, I think that's perfect.
You want to try that when you take your test?
I'm going to try it.
What I'd like you to do is do a practice test that you may have gotten from your school or from me or wherever you got it from, and try this and see if it works. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't, my feelings aren't hurt. But give it a try. Go through it once and see if your scores improve dramatically when you do a practice test like this.
Okay.
All right, can you do that for me?
I will. Thank you.
Because what you said, you came so close, just this strategy without knowing new information may help you get over that hump.
Right.
So at some point, it's not only just knowing the information, it's how are you attacking the information. So, I mean, you like sports?
Some.
Well, you know the idea of sports. It's you want your best player to go after their weakest player. It's the matchups. Same thing here. You're looking for your best matchup. You're looking for the place you have the most chance of being successful in the test.
Right.
That's essentially all it is. Okay. That being said, what's the answer for this one?
Maximum commission a broker may charge a seller for the sale of a residential income property is um, the maximum commission a broker is negotiable.
Perfect. Good. Excellent. It's negotiable. Now, there may be industry standards, but at the end of the day, it's all negotiable. Good stuff.
Right.
Okay. What do you have for this one?
Oh, you will pull that one out on me. In a typical percentage lease, rent is calculated as a percentage of not a uh, the lease and rent stands out. A typical percentage lease rent is calculated as a percent of.
Okay. So in a typical percentage lease, rent is calculated as a percentage of assets of the lessee's business, net sales of the lessee's business, gross sales of the lessee's business, or net taxable income of the lessee's business. What do you think?
A process of elimination. I want to say I'm eliminating A.
Good.
And I'm gonna the net sales is okay. Percentage rent. Okay, that has something to do with business. That's not regular residential. So I'm eliminating B.
Okay.
And net taxable income, I think that also has to do with business also, so we'll go with C with gross.
Okay, so which answer are you going with?
The only reason I went with gross is because I'm thinking that that's like a typical residential.
Well, this is a residential. This is business. So a percentage lease is a payment based upon a percentage of the gross receipts. All right, and you see that here.
Okay.
All right, so if you rent a property, for me, we do percentage lease to make it real simple. If you sell $100 worth of goods that month and I get 20%, I'm going to get whatever, $20 every month from you, assuming you sell $100 worth every month. So it's a percentage of the gross receipts.
Okay.
Okay, and it's usually coupled with the base rent, as it says here, but just so you understand the concepts, it's a percentage of how much you sell. Do you know the difference between net and gross?
the net lease, I think, is oh, I should know this stuff. My mind is going
Well, no,
blank.
just net and gross. Like net, the words net and
Yeah,
net. The
yeah.
word net means your income after expenses. Gross means the income before expenses.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. But since you asked, what is a net lease?
Um, God, you just made me forget when you said that. Net lease is uh, I don't know. I forgot. My mind's just blank. Sorry.
It's okay. Let's go net lease. Sometimes you hear the word triple net lease.
I've heard of it.
It's when the tenant pays for
Oh,
taxes,
I think I get it. Right.
insurance,
He pays for everything, right? And the monthly.
and maintenance.
Oh,
Okay?
right.
All right? That's what a net lease is. Okay. Let's move right along here. The Federal Housing Administration's role for financing the purchase of real estate property is to A. Assets of the lessee's business. B. Net sales of the lessee's business. C. Insure loans made by approved lenders. Or D. Do all of the above. What do you think?
Um, the Federal Housing Administration role in financing the purchase of real property is to C.
The role of the FHA is to what? Insure lenders.
The right.
Good. FHA insures the lenders. Good stuff. Okay. Can you read this one?
Yes. Which of the following best defines encumbrance? A. The degree, quality, nature, and extent of interest which a person has in real property, the use of property by debtor as security for a debt, any action taken related to real property other than acquiring title, and anything which affects or limits the title to real property. D.
Excellent. Perfect. Anything that limits the title to real property.
Yay.
Yeah. Yay. Okay. Can you give me examples of an encumbrance?
Like a um, like a lien.
Good. That'd be one.
Uh, um,
What's a lien?
like a lien is like a oh, I want. Why do I want to say it's like a cloud on?
It's when you
Well,
owe
no, it's not.
money. So a lien's when you owe
Yeah,
money. Like a mortgage
lien
is a
money.
lien, trust deeds a lien, taxes could be a lien, mechanics liens. Okay, so that's a
Right.
whole nother conversation. Okay.
Yes.
What else could be an encumbrance?
Um. mm, the easement.
Yep, an easement is also an encumbrance because it encumbers your property.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, there's different types of easements. Yeah,
There is,
easement.
for sure. There's different types of easements. Absolutely. Okay.
Okay.
You have an easement in gross, you have prescriptive easement. We'll go over that another time. Okay, what's the answer to this one?
Okay, a listing agreement must contain the elements of a contract, which includes company parties, unlawful parties. A.
Okay. Boom. Excellent.
Yay.
Good. And people get confused. Listings, it's just a contract. You got to remember the essentials of a contract, like we wrote here. Okay, a listing contract, oral agreement to do or not do a certain thing. You have to have lawful object. Okay, so we look at this. Can't be unlawful. Doesn't need to be notarized, and there must be consideration. Okay, so competent parties is one of the essentials. So these two, B and D, are the opposite of what you need for a contract.
Right.
All right. Let's do one more. What do you think? Then we're good?
Yes. A contract based on an illegal consideration is A, valid, B, legal, C, void, or D, enforceable. Anything illegal will be void.
Perfect. Good. That's one of the essentials of a contract. You don't have the option to go through with it. If it's illegal, such as a contract to kill or selling drugs or something horrible, you don't have the option to go through with it because it has an illegal purpose. It violates one of the essentials of a valid contract.
Right.
All right?
Right.
Okay, good. So I think we're good for now. Like I said, try to implement those strategies and keep doing those tests, and you'll get over the hump. And if you don't, you go to it next time. Remember, don't lose confidence. Eventually, you're going to pass, and eventually, you'll sell real estate. And your success or failure with this exam is between you and you, right? So you don't need to feel any shame or anything in front of other people. It's between you, however long it takes you to get past. It's just, that's what it is, and you'll do it. And then you'll get on to your career.
Thanks, Joe.
So just relax. The only pressure you're receiving is from the person in the mirror.
Right.
So, and the same is going to apply when you start practicing real estate. It's not going to happen immediately. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Right.
And as you don't get successful at first, you just got to keep pushing. That's the nature of all of this, whether it's the test or selling. You just got to figure out what you're doing wrong and just keep going and fixing it, and then just improving until you get there. And once you get there, you're good to go. And nobody's going to ask you how long it took you to get there or what struggles you brought on to get there.
Right.
Right? I mean, when you put on your nice clothes, people just say you look good. They don't ask you where you shopped. You just say I look good, right?
Right.
Well, maybe they do. I don't know. I don't know your friends. Maybe. I don't know. Yeah.
Thanks, Joe.
Yeah. All right. Well, let me know how it goes. This is Joe from PrepAgent with my friend Lynn. And good luck, everybody. And leave comments below. If you think I made a wrong statement or you think I explained something better, feel free to comment. Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lynn. Talk to you later. Bye.